Okay, what's going on? Today's project is working on my tailgate rear hitch salter. So we hooked this up to the truck, and this motor shot. This was used when I bought it. It was not brand new. Worked really great for me last year. Did some rewiring, rewired the motor last year and the salter, so they both came on, or I'm sorry, the vibrator, so they both came on at the same time. This year, hooked it up to the truck, gave it some power, and this thing's all seized up. So we're gonna go and replace that. We bought a replacement motor. This one came from Amazon. It is good for any Myers or Byers product, and we're gonna see if we can get this off of here. And they look pretty similar. Some reviews said that it worked very well. We won't know until we get this off. So we're working on getting some of these nuts broken loose and some of these bolts out of here, and we'll go from there. As of right now, seems like it should be a relatively simple process, but they don't always go that way. So kind of interesting trying to get the gun in here when it's coming loose pretty nice. So the thing that I'm concerned the most about is just making sure that these keyways line up for the shaft. Seems pretty standard. All right, so if we look at this unit here, there's these same bolts, these bolt patterns, these holes, and that's all. And this keyway looks like it goes into some sort of slot in this shaft. Right now, this is all loose, but the whole thing is working as a unit. And I think that this is just, I think that shaft is just seized on there. There's no other way. This whole thing is welded to the frame, so it's not like this all comes out. And I think it'd be very difficult to loosen all that up, although we might have to do so. Stand by. Got it knocked around a little bit and some rust coming off. There's a set screw, which would make perfect sense. Just realized that radio was as loud as it was. I hope it doesn't mess up my video, because YouTube will copyright me. Woo, doggy. There we go. That makes sense that there's a set screw, don't it? You dummy. You dummy. Now the challenge of the day is going to be not to lose that set screw. There's another one on the other side. Here it is. Okay, so I'm pretty sure when I started this video, I said it should be relatively easy. We now have this whole thing taken apart. This is the inside of that shaft. So I'm gonna play with this for a minute, see if I can tap on this, break that motor loose, but we're basically got it broken down to where we're just gonna replace this whole thing. So I'm gonna put the camera off and see if we can make some headway, and we'll be back. All right, done about everything that I can do to get this off, and it's not going to come, so we're just going to cut it and then just buy some new components for it, which we've already bought this morning. Kind of figured this is where we were going to end up, and here we are. Holy son of a gun. Let's take a look at this thing, huh? There's that keyway. That set screw was. That just didn't want to come out. It's out now. We're gonna get some never sees, some new bolts. When all this goes back together, it'll be done a little differently than how we bought it. Okay, we got our the piece that we're waiting for here. So let's get the salter back together. Before we do so, I just want to point out a little thing here, a little project that I did with my plow the other day. So a lot of times, if you don't have the plow, before I put these rubber mats on here, the plow was just you know, this top piece where the stainless steel ends. And without that, if you're pushing a light snow, light fluffy snow, even if you're just going down the road, it'll come up and it'll ruin your visibility. It'll blow up past the plow and get all over the windshield. So Fisher, which this is a Fisher plow, Boss, any other plow out there, they will sell these, you know, I don't really know what you call them, like a plow flap, a snow cover, whatever you want to call it. They will sell these, but they're not cheap, couple $100. Shipping, all of that. I went to a local auto parts store. In my case, it was a Napa, and these are mud flaps. So I got a couple left over here. I got another project to use the rest of these for, but I bought 2 mud flaps, cut them in half. They were $15 a piece. So you're looking at $30 right here. I used a jigsaw, cut them in half. Used my DeWalt drill, drilled a hole in them. The hardware was actually already here. It was already on the plow. The holes are already there. It's set up for these. I just didn't have them. So again, $30, about 15 minutes of putting these on the plow, and looks pretty cool. And we'll get to use them on the next storm. It actually probably sticks out further than the ones that you would pay big money for, which is definitely an added plus. And they're pretty heavy and thick, so I'm not worried about them blowing up too much when I'm driving. And I also added, this side did not have a washer, this hex nut. These were already here, but I added a washer just for a little extra protection here. But they're, you know, they're pretty thick. I'm not expecting them to tear. So just a little tip, if you guys are plowing, whether for money or just for your own residential purposes, there's nothing worse than hitting a little bit of snow and then losing all your visibility. That's never any fun when you have a plow in front of your vehicle. You don't ever want to hit anything. So that is definitely going to minimize that for me. Let me get all set up here and we'll get back to putting this plow together. I did go ahead the other day and wired up these little plugs. I got to add one to the salter for quick connects for taking it off. I did add a winch to the back of the truck, so I'll be able to remove that and interchange it with the salter. You know, I don't always need the salter on the truck. It's nice to have this. I got stuck a couple times last year. Actually, I got stuck once last year, and I got a video on that. It was at the steep hill that I plow. I had my dad come up. He's got a similar winch, and he was able to pull me out. But I'm hoping adding this winch to the back, which if you're plowing most of the time, my issue was I got stuck because it was spring, ground was getting a little soft. I pushed a little further than I should have and I couldn't back out. So having that on the truck this year will definitely be a big help. But the winch needs a bigger plug, so I also wired a bigger plug on this side for the winch. So pretty neat, pretty neat. Okay, this should be pretty easy to put back together. Although I said that about taking it apart, and here we are a few days later with it completely disassembled. So You get the new motor under here. It's going to get bolted to this plate here. Okay, and then you'll have that drive shaft sticking up through. The issue with why we couldn't get that off was because the old, I mean, I guess you can call it a drive shaft. I don't know exactly what you would want to call this, but it goes down this little keyway, goes down on top of that motor head. When the motor turns, it turns this whole disc. So that will then sit up on top of there. And then basically what we have here is a couple spacers. You get your turning disc that goes on there. This is the last piece. It sits on top of everything and goes inside the salter well over here. Okay. Today we are using all new hardware, and we are never seizing everything. It's an anti-seize Lumatex Permatex, or I'm sorry, anti-seize lubricant made by Permatex. We're going to be putting that on every single nut and bolt. Clearly was not done when it was assembled. I don't think it was ever maintained by the fellow that I bought it from. So, you know, it worked fine last season, but here we are. So we're going to never seize everything. This is what goes up into the hopper. When I was dismantling, I actually broke the top of this off. I used to screw in right about there, but this is roughly where it sat. So I just drilled a new hole through the steel tube, and then also through here very carefully, and then refastened the bolt. Let's go ahead and start by getting the motor mounted to the plate here. That's step number one. I'll start by doing one here. Alright, those bad bitties are on there. This piece right here was a culprit. You got this that sits on here, and the two of these, see, it sits right on there like that, and then there's a set screw that we need to tighten. Those seized together. See this little opening right there? See, it's a little keyway. And then there's a set screw right on the side. So this slides right on there. What we are going to do is we are going to fill this. We're going to coat it with Never Seize. Everything is getting lubricated today because maintenance needs to be done. This will probably have to be done again. I have been thinking about upgrading to a different salter situation, but there's other things that need to be in place before that. Like I would like a bed salter. My accounts are growing. My commercial accounts are growing. You guys will see that once we start plowing this year, doing a lot of hotels and motels, and need to be able to do more salt, but you really don't want to leave salt in a bed salter because it can freeze and solidify. So in order to prep your salter per storm, especially a bed salter, you either need to go to a quarry, some sort of sand and gravel supplier, and they will load you with a loader. Don't really want to be doing it all the time, so I will be looking to be getting access to a skid steer and a place to store the salter and possibly a shipping container full of salt. Not going to be doing any of that this year, building those relationships, and most likely we're going to have that stuff in place for next year. What's nice about what I do now is this box right here probably weighs about 600-700 pounds. It's full of salt, and that adds a lot of weight to the truck for plowing. If I'm going out in a storm, I don't need the salter. I don't have to worry about it freezing in there, and because there's no chains, there's no belts, there's no feed system, I feed it into the hopper on this salter. So this is really working out really well for me right now. But as the business grows, the tailgate salter probably will not. We'll probably need a bed salter. But like I said, there's some different moving parts that need to be in place. I can't just go and get a bed salter because I'm not really set up to feed it properly. And again, I don't want to just load it up and keep it for the season. And I definitely don't want to be filling it by hand every time that there's a storm. So we'll probably be maintaining this for the rest of the season. And then I'll probably keep this as a backup if I do upgrade to a bed salter. So, or, you know, down the line I might sell it. One way or another, someone is probably going to want to take this apart at some point. Chances are it's going to be me. Okay, so that's going to sit on there just like that. It's going to rise up here and be level. So now at this point, and we are going to take this off again for bolting. I just need to see, it'll be a lot easier to bolt this all together and then mount it back on here. I just need to get the orientation. I can't remember. I think these all sit on here. And then you get this. I think all three of those were together like that. Quite positive. Quite positive. I probably shouldn't have seized this yet. But not a big deal. So that sits on there. So this is the bottom. Then we have these two spacers and then that. Okay. Here's what we need to do there, young sailors. Let's see. I don't really need washers with this stuff, I don't think. Just need to do one. I gotta get one done and let it hold everything together. Okay. And we got our spacers. See, this all should have just slid off like this as one unit. It should have just slid right off of this peg, but it, you know, like I said, it was all boogered up. Okay. These are the days when the third hand would really come in handy. So we're gonna get this bolt never seized up. Okay, so that's on there. We'll get all the rest of these on here, and then we'll tighten everything down. That's how I want it. That's how we want it. Put some back in here, in this keyway. Just get this all crazied up here. Okay. And let's just slide right down on there. Looking beautiful. All right. All right, well, there you have this thing is put back together now. We got a brand new motor. Everything all set up. New hardware. Okay, the next step is to get some power to this motor. This nut right here is the power side. This is the ground. So we're gonna run some new wiring and then put it on a switch, or I'm sorry, it'll put it on a connector, which will connect into this, which runs to a switch in the cab. And also the way that we had this set up on the previous motor was this wire right here runs to this vibrator, which helps knock around the salt and make sure it goes into the spinner wheel. We're going to wire the two, the motor and the vibrator together, so when you flip the switch, both come on at the same time. 8 feet here, which we obviously don't need. We also need to splice in our vibrator at some point. And over here at the truck, yeah, we went and got a Christmas tree for Mom. We gotta take that by later. This right here is where our connection is gonna go. And this is all coiled up under here. This can be a lot longer. So now what we need to do is we're gonna feed our ground and our power to our motor, and the ground and the power to our vibrator. We're gonna splice these together and we're gonna put them into our quick connect here. Connectors is going to be for our power side. Let's take power. And let's take power. This one's our positive side. We gotta get the orientation right. So that'll slide in here. I don't know if we're lined up with the camera. Okay, we got them both in there now. Let's tape this up. Okay, so we are all set. The salter connections are all hooked up. The vibrator is powered at the same time that the motor runs. So let's go ahead and we'll hook these together here. The switch is on in the truck. And there you have it. The vibrator's moving. Okay, what's going on here? We finally are finished with our salter project here. Thought it was going to take an hour or two. Ended up really taking a couple days, but we're all done. So we got our vibrator powered at the same time that our motor comes on. We got our quick connects all done up, all taped up, nice and neat. Let's go ahead and connect here. I know the lighting is low. But we're going to connect this. The switch is already on in the truck. And there you go. You got our toggle, or I'm sorry, you got our vibrator going and our spinner. Okay. Whew. So very happy to have this done. So we are possibly looking at 3 to 5 coming up in a couple days. I don't know if it's going to pan out to anything. Kind of hoping that it doesn't. But if it does, this is what we're working with. We're all set up and ready to go. So it wasn't too long when that was every day, and now we're constantly thinking about snow and ice. So we're all done here. This is good. Thanks for watching. Hopefully some of this might have helped out one or two of you guys. If I know a few of you guys have been hanging out and signing up for the YA Coffee Club, there's a link down in the description of every video. There's also a link in the first comment that I pin to every video, and then also right where you used to hit subscribe, right next to where it says Young Ambition, it says join. All the coffee club is is just I guess a way that you can support me and the channel. Basically, it's I think it's like $3.99 a month, and basically what I'm going to do with that is go out and get myself a coffee. And I just appreciate the support that you guys give to me and the channel. Some of you guys have been around from the very beginning. You guys watch every video. Sometimes I post a video and I'll hit refresh, and like within a couple minutes there's already a bunch of views. So I really appreciate that. You don't know what that means. To see that, a lot of time goes into making these videos. For those of you who have signed up already and bought me a cup of coffee, I really appreciate it. Thank you. So that's it for today.